Watch Dogs was undeniably 2014's most anticipated game amongst a pretty huge majority of gamers, especially those who own the new generation of consoles. The game was originally slated for a 2013 release when it was surprisingly delayed for over a year to make it more fun, as quoted by the developer. Now that the hype has had time to die down, how does Watch Dogs really fare against this open world competition? Is it the hacking game of our dreams? Does it actually live up to the hype? Let's find out.
I could use some help. I could use your help.
Like a team?
Sure, like a team.
I'm not used to being a team.
No, I'm not.
Was that so hard?
Watch Dogs is set within a fictionalized version of Chicago that is controlled by one operating system called CTOS. Aiden Pierce, an expert hacker, can manipulate the city to his will by hacking into the city via his mobile phone. He uses this ability to avenge the accidental death of his young niece that was caught in the crossfire after he was caught trying to orchestrate a heist on a hotel. Throughout the story, you will delve into the criminal underworld, team up with various advocates for DedSec, a web group not unlike the group known as Anonymous, and go up against other hackers and people from Aiden's past that start to resurface. In short, Watch Dogs is one of the most cliche-ridden and humdrum storylines I have ever played through in an open world title. Not only is Aiden Pierce's revenge story something we have seen time and time again, it is also something we have seen that has been done a lot better too. Aiden himself is a walking cliche, as he is just another atypical, gruff, manly video game protagonist. He even has that deep, gravelly Batman voice that at points edges on self-parody. He's also kind of an asshole. At the beginning of the game, he threatens to execute a helpless, beaten, unarmed man. The first time he meets a woman, he grabs her by the neck and threatens her, and he's constantly putting his sister and his nephew under threat thanks to him putting his revenge before them. At one point in the game, Aiden's sister becomes forced to leave her own home because of his selfish need for revenge, and she even says to him that because of his actions, she doesn't idolize him anymore, and that she's not following him anymore. And Aiden still continues to ruin their lives just so that he can be at peace for getting his sister's daughter killed. What a fucking absolute wanker. The supporting cast of characters fare a lot better than Aiden did, as they're all interesting and have different quirks to them that make them great, like the excellently sadistic hitman called Geordie. Every single time Geordie was on screen, the dialogue lit up and I was interested in what was happening, since Geordie is the only character that doesn't feel like a cliche we have seen in a ton of games before it. The only character I didn't like was the character of Clara. The reason why Clara isn't that great of a character is that she simply serves as a plot point and is completely wasted throughout the entire game. What I mean is that when you first meet Clara, she seems like a tough, strong and smart female character, but then after a couple missions, she turns into Aiden's lapdog, simply doing whatever he asks. She is simply there to give Aiden something to fight for, and that's it. And I find that absolute fucking bullshit, since she seemed like such a cool and interesting character at the start. When will game developers learn that women in games can be more than just love interests? In fact, it's like that for every woman character in the game. Every single female character is only in the game to service Aiden's needs. Not one feels like a genuine character, and it's actually quite insulting. In Watch Dogs' world, all the men do the fighting and all the women need to be protected, and that's just bullshit. Why couldn't we have had an awesome female hacker that was badass too, rather than boring gruff white dudes again? But I digress. As for the main narrative, it's pretty weak. You go throughout the entire game trying to figure out who put the hit out on Aiden and his family, and when the perpetrator is finally unmasked, you'll be sitting there thinking disappointing thoughts in the range of, that's it? And well, duh! I could have guessed that 1 hour into the game. Let's put it this way, if you think you know who it is, then it most likely is whom you think it is. On the whole, the narrative is just extremely disjointed. The game tries so hard to sell you on the fact that throughout the entire game, Aiden is changing from a selfless asshole into the hero the city calls the Vigilante. But yet everything he says and does is a contradiction to that fact, so when he does finally get his revenge, I'm just sitting there feeling like a cold-blooded killer that has been given a false sense of accomplishment and growth. Also, I'd like to just point out how fucking lame the hero name the Vigilante is. It's like someone had that name as a placeholder in the script and someone just forgot to change it. Overall, the story in Watch Dogs is extremely weak and cliched, and Aiden himself was a completely unlikable and hypocritical protagonist. The narrative's only saving grace was some of the side characters that were actually interesting, but even then they can't really save what is more or less one of the most disjointed storylines I have ever played through in a video game.
This is what I have for you. It's a sticky bomb. See? It sticks. Cool, huh? So these two idiots are sitting in their car moaning and whining. They're all fucked up. I don't know whether to laugh at them or scream at them. Finally, I just pulled out my 45 and slammed a couple of rounds into their fat faces. Deal with all this for me?
No way.
We could just do that. Do that. Yeah, it's like a practice round. What do you think, fellas? Practice round?
Jordy, I don't need a practice round.
No, just let me get a little clearer.
Jordy!
The graphical presentation in Watch Dogs is a mixed bag for me. On the lead up to Watch Dogs release, a lot of advertisers were building this game up to be a truly next-gen experience, and I can safely say that it actually is, but only just by the skin of its teeth. The fictionalized version of the city of Chicago is actually excellently well designed. Although the city is overall kind of forgettable due to the lack of distinct landmarks that Chicago has in real life, but you honestly cannot fault the developers at Ubisoft Montreal for the amount of graphical detail that is displayed in bringing the city to life. Don't get me wrong, there has been a significant downgrade in the game's presentation when compared to the Watch Dogs presentation back in E3 2012, but that doesn't mean its presentation is bad, because it's far from it. For the needs of comparison, I would say Watch Dogs looks a bit better than Assassin's Creed 4, but is far off the graphical fidelity of infamous Second Son. It just kind of sits neatly in the middle. Chicago itself feels like a living and breathing city for the first half of the game, but the more you play, the more you begin to notice the cracks in its system. For instance, when you begin the game, you might be amazed at the fact that certain citizens will just randomly just be going about their day, and something you've not seen yet, like they might be rapping, playing football, or they might even be dancing. But as you play, you realize that these seemingly random instances start to repeat. It's a really disappointing aspect of the experience, because the first half of the game goes very far in trying to make you feel immersed in a real, believable world. But then in the second half, you just start to realize that yes, it is indeed still just a video game, and that's where it kind of fails me. The character models in the game all look well detailed and all are uniquely designed, even if the character design of Aiden makes him look like a creepy public masturbator. I actually think this is the first open world Ubisoft title that finally gets facial modeling and animations correct, as unlike in the Assassin's Creed series, Watch Dogs character models refrain from looking like mishandled puppets and actually look realistically lifelike. You can tell that Ubisoft Montreal clearly put a lot of work into capturing the characters' subtle emotions with motion capture technology, and it has paid off in a big way. This has also helped Watch Dogs in the animation department, as every single animation in the game is brilliantly cool to look at. No matter if you're walking, breaking into a sprint, or parkouring your way around Chicago, everything Aiden does feels fluid and effortless, and this translates to Aiden's various takedowns too. Brutal and sadistic as some of them may be, you can't help but behold the awesomely brash violence that Aiden inflicts upon his enemies. In all honesty, I found Watch Dogs' overall presentation to be pretty damn good. Is it as good as the footage from E3 2012? No. But I still found it to be a great looking, excellently animated experience, even if the city of Chicago is surprisingly a profoundly mundane environment to set a video game in.
Squad, you need to grant us CTOS access.
Don't make things worse for yourself!
Then try to hit him! Squad, we need another unit to assist, over. Still no sign of suspect. Damn, lost the suspect. Squad, this trunk is gone.
The voice acting in Watch Dogs is nothing bad and nothing great. Everyone sounds like they cared when recording their lines, and they do their best to bring these characters to life, but even the greatest actors out there can't make such a silly and cliche-ridden script sound good. In my opinion, if there were better dialogue, the voice acting would have been something special, but as it stands, Watch Dogs is just about average in this department. The major flaw, however, is Aiden himself, yet again. Throughout the entire game, Aiden sounds like he has throat cancer. I'm not kidding, it's like Ubisoft Montreal literally shoved a second-rate Batman into the game, just to make gamers think he's cool and edgy. When in all seriousness, this makes Aiden look like an overcompensating dramatizer rather than a cool badass. I couldn't help but burst out laughing whenever Aiden is having an emotional moment with his family, because they all sound like real people, and he just sounds like a fucking idiot.
It's fine. He thinks he can get inside.
How do you know what he thinks?
You're checking the locks.
Look, I can handle this on my own. We do not need your help.
Nikki, I can find this guy.
Okay, look, Aiden, God, you have not changed at all. We do not need your help. Please stop trying to fix our problems. Every time you try, you just make things worse.
Better go.
Unlike the voice acting, Watch Dogs' soundtrack is actually pretty great. The main aesthetic of the hacking motif is supremely well translated into the soundtrack here, as all the tracks are EDM-like, and they will make you feel like a badass. I can easily say that I love listening to Brian Reitzell's original soundtrack over the downright dismal radio selection in the game. It's extremely hard to get a feel for the music in the game because all the songs are put into groups of their genres and not radio stations. Is it honestly that hard to compile all the individual genres songs into cool radio stations? It's been a staple in the realistic open world games since GTA 3 did it way back when, so why can't we have it in Watch Dogs? Because of this, all of the songs in Watch Dogs become just one big clump of forgettable sounds rather than memorable stations. The sound effects in the game are decent, with guns and cars sounding pretty great. The only problem I had with the sound effects was how the motorcycles sounded. To me, they had no sense of momentum to them, and they sounded like they were running on electricity. It was so weird, in fact, that driving motorcycles actually brought me out of the immersion the game was going for quite often. Overall, the audio design in Watch Dogs is a complete mixed bag for me, as for every part I actually liked, there was a part that I equally disliked. When I first saw Watch Dogs in action in the fake presentation shown at E3 2012, I saw a game that found a new way to make an open world interesting, with using hacking as an offensive weapon rather than the same old boring weaponry we see in so many other games. So my first question when waiting for Watch Dogs release was if it would be a hacking game with occasional shooter gameplay, or a shooter game with occasional hacking gameplay. And disappointingly so, it is the latter in which Watch Dogs prioritizes. So, first let's talk about the shooting, since you'll be mostly engaging in gunfights for the majority of the game. The shooter gameplay is honestly the best I've seen in any open world game ever. This is the one thing that Watch Dogs does better than GTA 5, because unlike GTA 5's floaty and often uninteresting shooting system, Watch Dogs' system is tight and precise, and has little to any aim assist, making getting into that one headshot a lot more satisfying. The cover system is great as well, as it doesn't have you trapped onto walls or accidentally coming out of cover and getting shot. Together in tandem, these aspects of Watch Dogs gameplay work perfectly to make sure that you know that if you fuck up, it's down to you and not the game. Now let's talk hacking. When roaming the city of Chicago, Aiden can use his smartphone to manipulate the city to his will in a variety of ways. You can hack doors, open gates, operate machinery, and enter various types of cameras. You can also use the smartphone's profiling system to scan various citizens, find out what their name is, what their age and job is, and how much they even make in a year. Sometimes when you scan someone in the street, you will unknowingly unlock a side mission or tap into his or her cell phone calls and text message conversations. It's honestly one of the coolest aspects of Watch Dogs just to be able to see everyone's information at any moment you feel like. If you just want to use the profiler to farm cash and materials for crafting, you can do that too. Just walk up to a citizen and hold square button, and you'll instantly have emptied their bank account or stolen a CTOS employee's system key. It's easy and simple and makes hacking quick and fun. You can also utilize hacking offensively as Aiden, and you can hack into security cameras and target specific things such as explosives enemies may be carrying, and various environment booby traps depending on what you choose to upgrade in the game's extensive skill tree system. For instance, you could use a car alarm to lure a target to an explosive floor plate and then detonate it and watch him fly. It's honestly moments like these where you can take out a whole area without even firing a shot that makes Watch Dogs gameplay even remotely fresh and interesting, because without the hacking element to the game, I highly doubt I would have enjoyed my time as much as I did playing through this game.
The fuck?
Wait.
Okay.
Something's that way.
Remember your training.
Watch it. Start searching. Get out for now. Regroup. Stay away.
Shit. I'm armed. Came from over there. Everyone get in. Oh, shit! What the hell just happened?
We can find you, hear me?
Whoa! No way he's gone. Start looking.
Start looking for him.
Have a look around and watch your back.
If you're gonna do it, do it!
The hacking also has a puzzle minigame that you'll occasionally have to go up against in order to hack important things in the campaign. This minigame reminds me a lot of the pipe minigame in Bioshock, as it has you connecting lines of data to get to the main terminal. It's actually a pretty fun puzzle system that actually had me stuck a couple times, but once you've figured out how to pass these sections of the game, you'll actually feel like a badass hacker, unlike the rest of the game where hacking is just kind of a thing you do with the square button. So I give it points for that. The driving mechanics are serviceable, the controls for almost every vehicle in the game feel floaty and unprecise, but once you get the hang of it, you'll be getting around fairly well. I do feel though that if they had tightened the driving mechanics in Watch Dogs, they would have made for a better racing game online than it is right now, because you see, what makes Watch Dogs awesome in the driving aspect is that every car has an indoor view, so it makes every time that I jetted around Chicago feel like I was in a true racing game. Like I was playing the Project Gotham racing games or something. This would have translated so well to multiplayer if the driving was just a tiny bit more responsive, but I guess we have to deal with what we got. Watch Dogs is a Ubisoft published title, so it has all the things you would expect in a Ubisoft open world when it comes to side activities. You have the CTOS towers that you have to hack into in order to see parts of the map, a la Assassin's Creed Viewpoints and Far Cry's radio towers. You have stronghold missions, a la Assassin's Creed's guard towers and Far Cry's enemy outposts. And you even have the random encounters with criminals, just like you did with the animals in the Far Cry games. The downside to Watch Dogs having the same structure as Ubisoft's other open world titles is that it doesn't help Watch Dogs stand out. It all feels a little too familiar and run-of-the-mill. It would have been great to see something different out of Watch Dogs, even though it has the exact same design structure that they use in every sandbox game they make. I cannot deny that I still enjoy the structure anyways. I would just like Ubisoft to actually try to expand on it in the future, rather than just putting it in every single open world game they have without improving it. Other side activities include criminal convoys, fixer contracts, and gang hideouts, but tragically the only side activity that felt new and innovative to me and actually sustained my interest for a while was the crimes detected random encounters. At random moments whilst traversing the game world, Aiden's phone will notify him of a nearby crime that is about to happen. As Aiden, the players can be the hero and drive to the location, observe the criminal and the potential victim, and then take out the criminal as they enact the crime. This activity was awesome at first because you never knew what the crime would be, but then as you continue to intervene as crimes occur, you realize that it's always one person doing something to one other person. And that makes these encounters become stale pretty quick. This activity would have been greatly improved if you could intervene into bigger random occurrences instead of just muggings and beatings. For instance, why not have a group of bad guys rob a bank? Or someone going for a joyride, or even hostage missions? It just seems like Ubisoft Montreal has only tapped the surface of what they could be doing with this feature, and it's kind of disappointing.
Gotta keep an eye out. Should be very close.
There you are. I've been looking everywhere for your ass.
Well, here I am. Talk to me.
You've been talking to people you shouldn't have been talking to.
Oh, fuck, man. Where you hearing that shit?
You know what's gotta happen. Don't play dumb with me.
Man, I owe you.
You have all the other aspects that you would come to expect from a title like this, like collectibles, unlockable costumes, and vehicles, but the standout extra feature in Watch Dogs is easily the digital trips. Digital trips are essentially drug-induced dreams put into a hacking and immersion type concept. Once you have chosen one of these digital trips, either from your smartphone or by visiting random shady citizens, Aiden will place an earpiece into his ear and succumb to the trip, allowing you to take part in wacky, stupid and fun minigames. These games range from the Madness game, where in a hellish version of Chicago you must use a car to run over various demons for fuel, to the Spider Tank minigame, in which you pilot a giant spider tank and try to cause as much destruction as you can. The reason why these side activities stand out to me is because they are the most creative and original of the huge amount the game boasts. I think that in reference to Watch Dogs side missions, it's a case of quantity over quality, as the only side missions I found interesting were in fact the digital trips. The rest just felt like busy work, and that's never fun. The multiplayer portion of Watch Dogs is somehow interesting, annoying, fun, and dull at the same time. On the fun and interesting side of the spectrum, you have the awesome online hacking instances where your single player game will be hacked into by another player, and it's up to you to use the profiler to find and kill them before they finish stealing your data, and vice versa. It's a cool new mode that uses the hacking motif to its advantage. I actually had a lot of close calls and tense moments when playing this mode because hiding from the other player is actually so fucking hard. But then there are the annoying and dull modes, such as online tailing, which tasks you to follow and observe other players like the creepy stalker that Aiden is, without getting noticed, and vice versa, and online decryption, which has 2 teams of 2 or 3 players face off to collect and decrypt a file. Both these modes seem like afterthoughts, as not one of them feels like a new idea at all, and whoever thought that tailing someone online would be a fun endeavor is a fucking moron, as tailing the NPCs in single player titles alone can be some of the most annoying missions out there. It being online does not make it more fun at all.
The New York Times, staying alive. And let's start it like this, son. Rolling with this one and that one, pulling out gats for fun. But it was just a dream for the team who was a fiend. Started smoking wools at 16 and running up in gates. It made my eyes bleed. No question, I would flow off and try to get the dough off. Sticking up right boys on board. My life got no better. Same damn low sweater. Times is rough and tough like leather. Figured out I went the wrong route.
Watch Dogs is overall a fun time, but Game of the Year this is not. In fact, it's only just about a good game for me, as Watch Dogs is literally nothing special at all. Almost every aspect of Watch Dogs has been done before and has been done a lot better. The only aspect that feels like an improvement on most open world titles is the shooter gameplay and the new and fresh hacking motif that the game has introduced. But other than that, that's basically it. Some people out there will have you believe that Watch Dogs is the best open world game ever created, but that's just delusional. I won't lie, it is good, but it's not better than games such as GTA 5, Sleeping Dogs, or even Saints Row 4. Watch Dogs just feels like a title that's trying too hard to be new, cool, and edgy, when in reality it's one of the most generic open world titles in recent memory. As the newest victim of the damn hype train, Watch Dogs did not provide on its potential, and for that I give it a 7 out of 10. It has its moments in the campaign that stand out, and the game isn't a slog to play through, but with the uneven plot, downright hateable characters, boring focus on shooting rather than hacking, lame and mundane side missions aside from the digital trips, and a middling multiplayer suite, Watch Dogs never reaches the heights of the game it imitates. With that said though, I am in fact excited for a sequel, which we all know is coming since the game sold like 4 million copies in its first week, and I hope to see Ubisoft Montreal expand on the ideas they introduced it. But as it stands, Watch Dogs is just another average sandbox title.
Yo, Maurice! Yo, what's shaking, motherfucker? Shit!
Where the hell you been?
What?
He's talking to me. I leave you for 2 minutes.
Give me my bullets.
I tossed him. You said you'd kill him otherwise. We are out of time. Nice shot.
All right, fine. Tell me about your phone call.
Glad you asked. Okay, we got a bunch of dead bodies, right? We got 40,000 people above us. We need a distraction. I called the cops.
Great. Punctual cops. I handle these guys. You grab Maurice, get him out of here.
Maurice, what do I look like, a chauffeur?
He's the shooter. I'm not through with him yet.